This first segment is on marketing your property for lease. And in this segment, we're basically going to be talking about how to make your property such that when a prospective tenant walks in there, they can envision themselves living there, making memories, raising their family, basically being comfortable. So we want to talk about how do you do that? How do you create that ambiance when somebody walks in that front door? So let's go. First section, we've come up with an acrostic, and I wish that it was a little bit cuter, but it is MCPC, and making your first impression. And MCPC stands for, M is for the mechanics must be in order. And we're going to drill down into each one of these, but basically mechanics is that everything in the property works as it should. The second thing is that the carpet needs to be new or in great condition. So again, we're going to drill down into that just a little bit more. The next one is paint reflects a clean property. It's not about what your prospective tenants see, but what they don't see. And the final C is cleanliness, next to godliness, as they say. So let's drill down a little bit on the mechanics that must be in order. First item is make sure everything in the property works. And that includes everything from doors to close or latch. You don't want those doors that stick at the top corner or doors that just won't latch at all, the handles coming off in your hand. These are all things that are going to turn your potential renters off. Next thing is make sure that the windows will close and lock, that you have screens in place, that your faucets are not dripping, and also no old squeaky cabinet hinges. A little WD-40 will go a long way for making those cabinet hinges down.
And on the faucets not dripping, this is a very important item here, because not just having the faucets not dripping, you don't want there to be mold, a possibility of having a mold intrusion in that particular property. That is the big thing these days. People want to say that there's mold and it's caused problems. So faucets not dripping or plumbing not dripping, that is very important.
So we have put together a full mechanical checklist, which is part of your package. And this is something that we give to our handyman. Whenever we turn a property over, a property becomes vacant, we give this list to the handyman, and it has everything on there from changing the batteries in the smoke detectors to changing out the filters in your furnace to everything else, checking under every sink, every nook and cranny, and make sure there's no signs of leaks or any of those kinds of things. So the next thing on our list is the next C, and that is carpet has to be very clean or new. Now, perfect world is every time you have somebody move out of your property, you just pull out all the old carpet and put in new. But that doesn't make sense financially at all. So what's the next best thing? A good carpet cleaner. Now, when we say a good carpet cleaner, we want a good professional carpet cleaner, and that I have nothing against a Home Depot, but that has nothing to do with a machine, a portable machine at Home Depot that says professional on the sticker. We recommend, go ahead, Chris.
What we recommend is a company that has a truck-mounted machine. It's very important that they have a truck-mounted machine, because when they do, those particular machines are very powerful. They not only put a lot of pressure and water into the carpet, but they're able to draw out a lot of pressure, and basically all of the water is taken out.
In fact, our experience has been that we could walk in an hour after our truck-mounted machine has cleaned the carpet in a property, and that carpet's going to be drier than one of the small handheld machines, and truly, even if it is a professional handheld machine. The next thing, what do you do about stains? You know, our carpet cleaner, he is so good, he can get red wine out of white carpet, but there's just some stains that he can't deal with them. So, like I said, the first thing is you have a good carpet cleaner, but if it's beyond him, there's a couple of things you can do. You know, we recommend highly that when you're recarpeting your properties, that you try to stay with a pretty generic type of carpet in a taupe color, a medium pile on it, and you don't want it to be the bottom of the line, the apartment grade. You want to step up a notch or two. It's going to wear a lot longer for you and give you a lot more years of service. But anyway, back to my point, let's say you have a bedroom that's got a big stain in the middle of it. You just cannot get it out. Well, one option is, rather than changing the carpet out in the entire house, just change out the carpet in that one room. Because the only place where people are going to see that carpet next to the other carpet is at the doorway. That's only 2.5 to 3 feet wide, and if the pile is similar in height and the color can be pretty close, and heck, after 6 months of traffic, you'll never see the difference.
And a good example of this particular was a property, in fact, it's a very high-end property, and the carpet stain that he could not get out was from its furniture stain. Basically what happened was it was in a rattan container and they overwatered a plant. It was in a rattan container and it stained the carpet. So that one we were really lucky because we could replace just that one room because it bedded up to the entryway, which was terrazzo. So that's an example of one stain that he can't, there's no way. When you have a furniture stain, there's no way that he can get that out.
No, no. So the next item that we talked about is paint. Paint reflects a clean property. Now, like I said, it's not what your prospects see, but what they don't see. The handprints and smudges around the light switches and handprints down the hallways, those are just things that if your tenant walks in, it's almost subconscious or subliminal. You walk in and if it's just kind of gritty and grimy, it just sort of gives you the heebie-jeebies. But also you want to make sure that you take care of the scrapes and dents in the walls, places where, especially stairwells are real bad for this because they just get the heck beat out of them as you're moving stuff in and moving stuff out. Again, ideal is that you do a full repaint every time somebody moves out. But again, financially that just doesn't necessarily make sense. So you want to be sure and do a touch-up as a minimum and just get the place really freshened up.
And I got to learn how to do touch-up painting from my handyman, and actually what you use is a very small little roller. It's called a weenie roller, believe it or not. And you go over the stain on the wall, and the first time you may not be able to get the mark completely painted over, but the next time you just wait till that dries and go over it again and kind of shadow it in. So so that basically that's what you want to do when you do the touch-up painting.
So now the next thing, and I'm going to get my little Vanna White here, and she's going to show you about the Mr. Clean Magic Erasers. I don't know if you've run across these or not, but they truly, truly are magic.
And what you use them for is they will tell you whether or not a stain's going to come off or a mark off the wall. You just basically put a little bit of water on these. They feel like they weigh nothing, and you scrub the mark on the wall and it will disappear. It's pretty amazing. And we use these on our walkthroughs too to see if the property has marks that are going to come off and the tenant's not going to have to be charged for those particular marks when they vacate the property.
And one thing, we're all conditioned with, we have this aromatherapy, we have all of this kind of thing. And you know what? It just boils down to the smell, the toxic smell of fresh paint just smells like it's clean. When you walk into a property that's been freshly painted, it just gives us that feeling of comfort. So, heck, maybe you want to just open a can of paint and stick it in the closet someplace.
And when he mentioned closet, I will say this. Be sure and paint inside those closets. It really does make a difference. The hangers always leave black marks. Shoes leave black marks on the inside of the closet. Be sure and paint inside the closets. People do notice those type of things. They're opening the closets to look and see how much closet space they have, and they will notice all the black marks in there.
Yeah. So the next item we're going to talk about is the cleanliness, the last C in the MCPC equation. And you want your property deep cleaned. I mean really cleaned. One of my pet peeves is the top of the baseboards. They collect dust, and
my pet peeve is on top of the dishwasher. And when you open up a dishwasher and that rim around there, I don't like to see the dirt and the grime that's accumulated there over their years' tenancy.
And it's all about the list. And one thing, when a property is not clean, in fact, we showed a property really before we should have, and I noticed the lady came in and she got ready to set her purse down on the countertop, and she felt the countertop first, and it was sticky and grimy, and it was about 30 seconds and she was out of there. It just gave her the heebie-jeebies. She didn't want anything else to do with it. So that is our, basically everything about marketing the property. Now I do want to mention that we do have a cleaning checklist, which is a complete list of all the things that need to be done, everything from the drip pans on the stove to cleaning the oven, cleaning the toilets, obviously wiping out the drawers. And we give this to our cleaning person, and then also when we do a walkthrough,
we give them this cleaning checklist because we tell them that's what we did when you moved in. When you move out, this is what we expect. This is how we expect the property to look once you moved out.
So check that out, and now hopefully your property is going to be ready to market. So